So now that we have our attack platform set up, we need to install some victims. I'm going to start by installing a Microsoft Windows platform. So what I'm going to do is click New, just like we did with Kali, give it a name. In my case, I'm going to call it Windows XP. Now I understand that Windows XP is a very old operating system, but the reason I use it is because it uses very little resources, and there's plenty of vulnerabilities for us to attack against. So for those who have a weak laptop, you can still run VirtualBox, Kali, and Windows XP on it and do just fine. So in this case, I'm going to hit Continue. I'm going to give it half a gigabyte, which is 512 megabytes. I'm going to create a 10 gigabyte hard disk, which is plenty of room for a Windows XP installation. And then we'll create a dynamically allocated disk, which means it won't use all the space until Windows needs it. We'll hit Continue. Now we're going to have to install the CD-ROM. So I'm going to click on Optical Drive, choose my image, and select my Windows XP CD, and click Open. Now if you don't have a Windows XP CD, you can get one on eBay, Amazon, Newegg, or any of the hundreds of other websites out there. They're very cheap, they're very old, and most of us have one just laying around someplace. At this point we'll start. This begins the boot process for Windows XP, and you'll see it's going to go through our standard Windows setup. I'll create this full screen. At this point we're going to hit Enter to set up a new installation. F8 to agree to the license and terms. Then we're going to hit C to create a partition. We'll hit Enter to use the entire disk, which was the 10 gigabytes we made, that virtual partition, and Enter again to install onto that new C drive. We'll format it quickly using NTFS. And now it will copy of our files. This will usually only take about 3 to 5 minutes on most systems because XP installs very quickly because it's such a small operating system. Once the files have copied, it will ask you to restart. We'll hit Enter, and the virtual machine will restart. At this point, we'll get into the graphical setup of the Windows installation. Next, we're going to select the regional and language options. In this case, I'm going to accept the defaults of the United States. We're going to give it a name. In my case, I'm going to use the name of John Sim. And his organization is going to be Sim Incorporated. We're going to give his computer a name. I'm going to call it John PC. And then we'll give it an admin password. In my case, I'm going to use the traditional favorite of password. Password, and confirm with password. We'll check the date and times. In my case, I'm on the East Coast. And we'll use the typical settings for the network. And we'll use a workgroup environment. And once that's done, it will reboot. We'll go through the setup. We could tell it to not do the updates because we're not going to be connected to the internet. We'll skip the registration and say not at this time. Again, I'm going to use John Sim as my user. And then say Finish. The last thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and change our network settings. So we'll click on Network. We're going to take our network adapter, and right now we're going to put it on Internal Network, and we'll just call that iNet and hit OK.